Hey everyone, Sweet Johnny Cage here. Welcome to my Let's Play playthrough guide of Dark Souls Remastered. So this is a series of walkthroughs I'll be doing for Dark Souls 1, where I play and record and talk all at the same time and get you through the game. So in this first part of the game, or the guide, we are going to go through the Northern Undead Asylum, which is the tutorial area of the game. So let's go ahead and create a new character. For tradition, we will name the character Guide, just like we did in Demon's Souls. For the gender, we'll go male because we did female for Demon's Souls. Starting class, there's a lot of good starting classes. I prefer the Wanderer. The Bandit is pretty good too. Really anything will do, just like in Demon's Souls. Your starting class largely doesn't matter. It just sort of dictates how you go through probably like the first couple hours of the game. But all the stats are pretty interchangeable. And you get to, individualize your build as you play through the game. So I like the Wanderer. We'll go with that. Wanderer has quick roll, which is always important. Starting gift is really important. We can always choose none. However, I prefer to go with the Old Witch's Ring because it allows us to speak to an NPC. There is no All Rings trophy for Dark Souls 1, so you don't have to worry about it. But this is the only item, aside from the pendant, which you cannot get under any other circumstances. So I prefer using this ring. That said, the Goddess's Blessing is basically a divine blessing. It's a full heal. You pick a few of these up in the playthrough. The Black Firebomb is really strong. It allows you to kill the tutorial boss when you first encounter it. And if you do that, you get its weapon. However, the weapon is pretty bad, so I never bother. Twin Humanities is an item that you pick up. I will explain the humanity system and all that at the end of this guide, meaning this video. I'll explain all that once we get out of the tutorial area. The binoculars you pick up in Firelink Shrine, which is very early on in the game. It's basically the beginning of the game, so there's no point in picking that. The pendant is completely useless. It's a red herring. At least to this day, 10 years later after the release of this game, no one knows what it does. It does nothing, so don't get it. The Master Key is really good for subsequent new playthroughs or new characters you make. I don't recommend picking the Master Key for your very first playthrough, and the reason for that is because it opens doors that you would otherwise need specific keys for. And while this sounds great, it can be a little risky because you can wind up getting stuck in areas that you were severely under-leveled for, and it's kind of a nightmare getting out of them if you don't know where you're going. So I don't suggest taking the Master Key for your first playthrough. The Tiny Beings Ring is a ring that you get about halfway through the game, so we're not going to get that. We're going to go with the Old Witch's Ring. For the physique, this is just cosmetic, doesn't really matter. Let's go with Tiny Head. That sounds fun. Yeah, let's go with Tiny Head. For face, I'll go with a Sora Noble. I'm pretty pale, so that matches. Yeah, receding's always fun, and then we'll go dark brown. That's my hair color. It's probably what I'll look like in 20 years. Okay, so with that out of the way, our character is created. I'm going to skip cutscenes just like I did in my Demon's Souls guides. And if you're unfamiliar with these style of guides, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I'm playing as I go, so there might be deaths. I'll always have timestamps in the descriptions if I die like more than once, or if I die in a pretty bad place, I'll tell you, okay, skip here now. This way you can continue on. Yeah, so that's basically how it works. Okay, so this first corpse here, we have the dungeon cell key, which came from up above. Okay, so now that we have that, we can open this door. And then there is a window, or a set of windows we can look through here. This is the Stray Demon. This is an optional boss. It's funny that it's, aside from this zombie here, the first enemy you see in the game. And we can't fight it just yet. We have to return to the Northern Undead Asylum in order to face it. But that's a little later on in the game. Okay, so for our weapon, we only have a broken sword hilt. That's not going to do us too much good. Luckily, all the enemies here in the intro are very passive, so they're not even going to try to come after us. All right, going up this ladder, we have our first bonfire. And if you are coming here from Demon's Souls, these sort of look like archstones, but they work a little bit differently. So they are checkpoints. You can rest at them. Resting at them resets the area. It revives all enemies. or most enemies. I think there are a few kill once kind of enemies in the game, but it basically revives all of your enemies, refills your health and stamina, and then it also refills your Estus Flask. But we don't have the Estus Flask yet, so that's our first stop. So we have no options here at the bonfire. Instead, what we need to do is we need to open this big door. And before we do that, little Easter egg here. If you look through the tiny little opening, the little window up top, you can see the boss, which is the Asylum Demon. You can see him up there, gazing at us. Asylum Demon is just like Vanguard in Demon Souls. However, you are not meant to die to him. But since all we have is a broken sword hilt, what we're going to do instead is we're going to run away from him. And there's a door over here that opens once we get near it. The boss drops down, and then the door closes behind us. If you want, you can try to kill the boss. If you have black fire bombs, it's really easy if you chose those as your starting gift. Or if you want to use this broken sword hilt, you can kill the boss with it. It'll take you a long time. And killing the boss in that very first encounter will cause him to drop his weapon. The weapon is not very good, even as a late game weapon. The stat requirements are huge, so it's just really not worth it. That said, on New Game Plus, you'll start here in the Northern Undead Asylum, and then you can just kill him using whatever weapon you have, and then you can get the weapon that time. Okay, so we have another bonfire here, just in case we took damage, but still no options in the menu. Coming down this first hallway, there is an archer who has arrows that is shooting at us. In this alcove here, your left-hand weapon, either your shield, I think it's always a shield. I didn't take too close of a look at the starting classes, but your shield will be here, so go ahead and equip that on your left hand. And then what you want to do is just keep proceeding up the hill. Eventually the zombie will start running away. And then this treasure here, it has your weapon. So go ahead and equip that. Okay, and then once in here, there is going to be the archer. He has now moved up here towards this fog wall. Go ahead and cut him down to size. He dies, we get 20 souls, and now we can go through this fog wall. Through the fog wall, we can see this gentleman right here locked in a prison cell. This is the guy from the intro cutscene. And basically the story is that the Asylum Demon, the boss, found him on the roof and then chucked him into this cell that has no exit. So we have to make the exit. Okay, so you can see the bonfire that we were at just before, and that big door, it's over there now. It's closed again. And we can get back down to that floor pretty easily just by opening this. This activates a little shortcut. But what we need to do is we need to open this cell. And if you remember in Demon Souls in Boletaria level 1-1, there was a staircase that as you went up it, there was an enemy with a boulder that would chuck it down the stairs, and the same thing's going to happen here. So once you see the boulder start rolling, just jump down. And that opens this wall. So we can talk to this gentleman. He is Oscar of Astora, and he tells us that there is a legend, or a prophecy that states that the chosen undead will ring the two bells of awakening and be taken to Anor Londo. However, he thought he was the chosen undead, but he is now dying here because the Asylum Demon chucked him into this cell. So yeah, he's gonna die. So you can either kill him right away. He doesn't drop anything if you do, or you can just leave, and then he succumbs to his wounds right there. Okay. On a return trip to the Northern Undead Asylum, his hollow form will be here, and you'll actually have to fight him. And then he drops, I think the crest shield is his loot when you do that. So coming through here, there are two hollows. So we can take that one out. The second one should be coming, and then there's a third one over there with a bow and arrow. I'm going to be careful with that guy. And these guys have the same moveset as the Dreglings from Boletaria. Oh god. From Boletaria in Demon Souls. So, never underestimate a zombie in these games. Okay, so there's an archer over here. We're going to go take care of him. And then there's a fog wall right there. And then there's a door here that we cannot open. So we can backstab this enemy or fail doing that. The backstab window in Dark Souls 1 is a little bit tighter than Demon Souls, at least in my opinion. Anyway, so we can't open this door yet. It is locked, so that is your indicator that you're going to come back here at some point. Yeah. Okay. So, in addition to having a completely interconnected world. And that's one of the stark differences from Demon Souls. One of the big differences in Dark Souls is that plunging attacks have been introduced. So there's a developer hint here that says press R1 while falling to do a plunging attack. And that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to go through this fog wall, and we don't want to wait too long on this platform here because the boss is here. So we want to drop, press R1, we do a plunging attack and take out about a third of his health. And now we fight the boss for real. The moveset of the Asylum Demon is more or less the same as Vanguard in Demon Souls. So the difference being that you have to kill this boss. You cannot just die to him and get transported to where you got to go. You have to kill this boss. But his moveset is more or less the same. He has that vertical smash. I think that's new. And he has a horizontal slash. Yep, there we go. Oh god. Difference being he doesn't one-shot you. He also has the flutter move that he does, where he sort of like flies up a little bit. I'm trying to bait him. Yeah, this move, he has that again. So he goes a bit higher and slams a bit harder. But once you're ready to kill him, cut him down, and then you will get the Pilgrim Key, or the Big Pilgrim's Key. And that allows you to open this door. Okay, you also get a Humanity, which I will explain in a little bit. There's one other system here in the Northern Undead Asylum, and that is the trading system. It is not available right here in the tutorial section of the game. You have to do this on a return trip, but if you remember in the Shrine of Storms in Demon Souls, there was an NPC named Sparkly the Crow, and you could leave items at Sparkly's nest, reload your save file, and if it was an item that Sparkly wanted, you would get an item in return. Otherwise, you would just lose it. The same system is here in Dark Souls, except now it's Snuggly the Crow, and this is where the nest is. I don't think there's any items in the game that can only be obtained through trading. Like I said before, there's no rain trophy or anything, so you don't have to worry about that. But this is here in case you need. Okay, so that's it for the Northern Undead Asylum for now. And what we're going to do is we're just going to walk to the edge of this cliff, and then the crow's going to show up. And then the crow will take us to the land of Lordran at Firelink Shrine. And that's pretty much going to do it for the tutorial here. The tutorial of Dark Souls is much shorter, at least I think, than Demon Souls. It explains a lot less, I will say, especially considering how many complex mechanics are in Dark Souls when compared to Demon Souls. And so that's going to be it for the tutorial, but I do want to take this time to explain some of those systems I mentioned. So the most prominent system is the bonfire system. So when you rest at a bonfire, various things happen, and you can build up this menu you see here, the leave, level up, kindle, reverse hollowing. You can build out this menu as you play the game and unlock certain things. By default, you have leave, level up, kindle, and reverse hollowing. And as you saw when I rested at the bonfire, a fog sort of comes over the screen, and that indicates that everything is being reset. So resting at a bonfire resets all the enemies, aside from bosses. They all come back to life. Similar to Demon Souls, although this is something that you can trigger without having to warp anywhere. You just sit at the bonfire, and it happens. Okay, in this menu, we have level up, and this allows you to, bump up any stats that you'd like. We'll do that in the next video. You will notice that there is an extra stat down here that you cannot level, called Humanity. And Humanity is a pretty interesting thing that I don't think, maybe they do explain it here. They do. Okay, so Humanity, they don't explain it at all. Okay, so it says parameter boosting item discovery and resistance to curses. So it's a parameter that boosts item discovery and resistance to curses. That is true. However, there's a lot more to Humanity in this game that really doesn't get explained. But it's very important for you to understand. And so we received an item defeating the Asylum Demon called Humanity. And so this item here is what is known as like a Humanity sprite, or it's like an item, right? And so when you use it, you gain 1 Humanity and restore all of your health. And so when you use this item, here, I'll use it right now. Actually, before I do that, in the top left corner, you see a counter. It's currently at 0. If I were to use this Humanity, it gets moved to 1. And so what that means is I now have the ability to do certain things. Since my stat is higher, now that humanity stat at the bottom here, that is now at 1, that will always match the counter. The higher your humanity stat here, the higher the humanity counter, the higher your item discovery rate is, and your resistance to curse. That said, there's a lot more to it. Humanity, as it's stored in this counter here, can be used as a form of currency at bonfires, as well as for one other obscure mechanic that I will get to much later on. So when we have, this is referred to as soft humanity when it's in the bank here, we can do something called reverse hollowing, and we can only do this at bonfires. We can offer that soft humanity and reverse our hollowing. And what this does is if you play Demon Souls, it basically puts you into body form, or what's referred to as human form in Dark Souls. This allows you to summon other players for help. It allows you to invade other players. Can invasions be done? I think invading can be done as undead, but basically it allows you to bring other people into your world. That's the big thing. So you can summon help into your world, and you can also be invaded. That's really the only sort of benefit to being human, at least offhand, I think. There may be other things to do only in human form, but that's basically what you got to know. Being in human form allows you to play online. That's kind of the thing. There are several storylines. One in particular is Solaire of Astora. His storyline is progressed in certain ways, and you can actually summon him into your world to help you during bosses. So there's a lot of NPC summons around, and you can only summon them into your world to help you with bosses by being human, by reverse hollowing. The other thing you can do after you reverse your hollowing is kindle a bonfire. What does kindling mean? So I'm going to use my Estus flask here. I'm going to use it a bunch of times. I'm going to go all the way down to 0. And so we're at a bonfire here that has actually already been kindled. And what that means is when you rest at a bonfire, your Estus flask will be restored 5 times. You'll get 5 charges of Estus. However, if you kindle a bonfire, it will go up to 10. And then you can kindle 2 more times, so it goes to 15 and 20. And the bonfire, the fire itself grows bigger, so you can always sort of get an idea of how kindled the bonfire is. So this bonfire has been kindled once, and so when we rest at it, our Estus is restored to 10. Why does that happen? The reason that happens is because certain bonfires have fire keepers keeping them going. And so there's a woman down here named Anastasia of Astora. Her tongue has been removed, so she cannot speak. There is a way to restore it later on. But she is what is known as a fire keeper, and so because she is the keeper of this fire, the bonfire is already kindled. Fire keepers have special souls, and the way to you use these souls to upgrade your Estus flask power. So if you have an Estus flask plus 7, you're going to heal way more per swig of Estus than an Estus flask plus 0. And the way you increase those charges is by offering Firekeeper souls to Firekeepers. So Anastasia, despite not being able to speak, does have a menu with the option to reinforce an Estus flask. But it says Firekeeper soul required to reinforce Estus flask. So basically, there's a Firekeeper soul in this bonfire that makes it pre-kindled, so to speak. There's very few bonfires in the game that have this. There's one here, there's one in Anor Londo, and there's, I think, one other one that is already pre-kindled. So just keep that in mind. From the start, you can only kindle a bonfire one time. You have to unlock what is called the Rite of Kindling, and you do that by defeating a boss who you can technically reach right now, but because of the way Dark Souls is designed, that's not really the right place to go yet. So for now, you can only kindle bonfires once until you unlock that Rite of Kindling, and then you can kindle them 2 more times. Okay, so one other thing that I want to cover here in this intro guide is the way the world works in Dark Souls. In Demon Souls, it was a level-based system where you had the Nexus as your hub, and then you went to each Archstone and selected the level that you wanted to play. Those levels within the Archstone were connected, but it was pretty linear. Dark Souls is not that way at all. There are a couple of linear sections, and there are parts where, okay, you reach this part, you only have one other place to go, and then once you finish that little mission, then it opens up again, and you have more choices. From Firelink Shrine, there are many places to go. So where you are intended to go is the Undead Burg, which is where I'm facing now. That'll be the next guide. But you also have the option to go this way, towards the Catacombs, which you can see over here. There's a bit of a graveyard up on these cliffs. You can also go this way, down to the New Londo Ruins, and that will spit you out at the Valley of the Drakes, which can lead to Darkroot Garden, a bunch of different places. And so that's sort of your choices from here. You kind of have 3 places to go. But the intended place to go is the Undead Burg. And that's the reason why I said don't get the Master Key, because you could go down to the New Londo Ruins and open a door and then go down to Blighttown. We can't do that since we don't have that key, and I just really don't recommend doing that on your first playthrough. The other cool thing I want to mention is there is a really, really neat mechanic in Dark Souls that a lot of people don't realize actually exists. And I'm kind of waiting for it to happen, but occasionally in Firelink Shrine, you will hear a bell ringing. And you only hear that bell ringing if you're online. And that bell ringing is actually another player ringing that bell. So the main mission in the beginning of Dark Souls is to ring the bells of awakening. We need to fulfill that prophecy that Oscar of Astora told us about. And so, as you're sitting here in Firelink Shrine, you may hear a bell ringing occasionally, and it's actually another player helping fulfill that prophecy. So that's a really cool mechanic. But I think that'll wrap it up for this guide. The Crestfallen Warrior returns. I don't ever really talk to him. But I think that's all for now. There's a lot that goes into Dark Souls. There's a lot of really interesting mechanics in this world that I will talk about in subsequent episodes of this guide. But that's going to be it for now. In the next part, we will go to the Undead Burg and fight the Taurus Demon. And then that'll probably be it for part 2. But for now, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. I'll do my best to help you out. If you're looking for more guides for Dark Souls, please subscribe to the channel so you get alerted when new guides go live. If you're interested in supporting the channel monetarily, please consider becoming a channel member by clicking the blue join button below this video. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and on Twitch, and as always, I'm Sweet Johnny Cage. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.